The progressive revolution doesn't stop when the live show ends. Join the home of progressives and become a TYT member today. Click the link below.
We are still uncertain as to the whereabouts of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. He was a journalist living here in the United States due to self-exile after he was critical of the Saudi royals. So he feared for his own safety. However, after going to the Saudi consulate in Turkey to get a document he needed to marry his Turkish fiance, he never came out of the consulate. And now it is becoming more and more clear that he was likely murdered. Now, I'm gonna give you more details on why it is now more accepted that he is likely dead. But before I do so, I wanna be clear with you guys about what the Trump administration's stance on this is. Now, Mike Pompeo did go to Saudi Arabia to meet with the Saudi royals. I'll give you the details on that in just a second. But the latest breaking news on this has to do with Donald Trump's interview with the Associated Press and what his thoughts are on the mounting pressure to do something in response to what Saudi officials allegedly did here. And he has already said that he is not planning on halting or stopping the sale of weapons to the Saudis. And now he's also saying, according to this interview with the Associated Press, here we go again with "you're guilty until proven innocent."
Yeah, now he's talking about rogue killers. What rogue killers? Yeah, I know, OJ snuck into the embassy and killed Khashoggi. Okay, there ain't no rogue killers. It was the Saudi government. And the Saudi government doesn't send 15 assassins into a different country by accident. It's not like, oh, well, oh my God, the Secretary of the Transportation approved that. It didn't go all the way up to the head of the country. No, the Labor Secretary accidentally sent the 15 assassins. No, it's preposterous. You only do that if you want to cover up for Saudi Arabia. And of course, that's what Donald Trump wants to do.
Now, yesterday, sources spoke to CNN anonymously and told CNN that the Saudis are preparing to admit that Khashoggi has died, but they are going to spin the story to essentially say that it was an interrogation that went wrong and that the Saudi royals knew nothing about this. Even though Khashoggi was a journalist living in the United States because he was fearful that the Saudi royals would go after him and murder him because he was so critical of them in his writing.
So let's talk about layers of absurdities there, okay? So an interrogation gone awry. Well, look, we were interrogating him and our hand slipped and dismembered his entire body. How is that gone awry? Right. What do you, like, we were waterboarding him and we accidentally drowned him. Okay, well, first of all, you're already doing torture. So an interrogation is, did you do it? What have you said? What do you know, right? An interrogation isn't, well, we brought him to the edge of death. Oops, damn it. It turns out he died. That's not a legitimate interrogation. That's point number one. Point number two is, apparently he was dismembered. So even if you were doing torturous investigation and interrogation, you don't slip and accidentally chop up 8 different parts of his body.
Right, actually, I think point number one should be, why was he being interrogated when he went to the Saudi consulate in Turkey to get the document he needed to marry his fiance?
Excellent.
Like, why did he need to be interrogated? And remember, the first story or the first answer that we heard from the Saudis in response to this was that, no, we insist that he left the consulate. He left the consulate. There's no way that he was murdered or that we had anything to do with this. He went in, he came out. No one can explain it, but that's what happened.
Now, the final absurdity, if we're on to number 4 or 5 now, is, and boy, the 15 guys on that team, their pictures have been identified by the Turkish government. They're in a world of hurt because some of them are very likely going to be thrown under a bus. And in Saudi Arabia, that could be literal. So they're gonna find the rogue killers. So here are their options. Find someone that is not on that 15-person team and say he's the one who authorized it. In reality, that person will not be a friend of the Saudi government. It'll be an enemy of the Saudi government. They'll frame him 100% and murder a second person who they did not like. That is the most likely outcome. But if there's too much heat and they gotta pick somebody from the 15-person team, they will execute one, many, or all of them and partly because they know what happened, right? And say, hey, thanks for doing us that favor that we told you, we ordered you to do. Now I'll murder you for doing the thing that I ordered you to do. So some of that murder is coming up next from the Saudi government. I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll find out, right? We'll see if they name someone. We'll see what they do with that person. We'll see if it's at all connected to this. But here's what's not going to happen. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman raises his hand and goes, yeah, it was me. I ordered the execution and dismemberment of that journalist because I didn't like what he said about me. And now, what could happen is, now you know what, we all have a pretty good sense of what the reality is. Now, if the Trump administration was genuine and honest, they would say that's unacceptable, and Trump talked about severe consequences, and they would do those severe consequences. Why? They would say, I don't want anybody living in America, permanent resident or not, citizen or not, that is a journalist working for an American media organization to walk into any embassy in the world and risk dismemberment. That's a very, very bad precedent, so there will be consequences. Or Trump could do what he appears he's more likely to do, which is help the Saudis cover up their murder because he makes money from it. He makes money with the Saudi government. They gave him a bunch of contracts as soon as he was elected. They go and spend inordinate amounts of money at his hotel. They changed from other hotels to Trump hotels right after he won the election in order to butter up and bribe our president more. And our president loves bribes.
He does. It always goes back to Trump's own self-interest. Is he making money? Is he somehow enriching himself with whatever he's doing? And that's the main reason why he's already pushing this narrative, indicating that Saudi Arabia is being treated unfairly. Why are we treating them as if they're guilty before, being proven innocent? Just all of this narrative that you saw with the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, which you see with every other political issue that comes up where Trump is involved. And honestly, the thing that keeps, as we cover this story, the thing that keeps coming back to my memory is the interaction that we had at the RNC, where, and this is why. So as you guys know, as we were doing our live show, our set got crashed by Alex Jones and Roger Stone. And in the middle of that whole debacle, I don't know what Alex Jones's exact wording was, but he essentially accused us of supporting Saudi Arabia. And you can hear Cenk very clearly saying, we criticize Saudi Arabia all the time, we criticize. Anyway, the reason why I bring that up is because, so where's Roger Stone? I would say where's Alex Jones, but he's been blocked everywhere because he's a clown. But like, where's the right wing that was very much concerned about this type of behavior in the Muslim world? Right? Are they upset about this? Are they angry at Trump for refusing to do anything about this? And by the way, another thing that Trump says over and over again, if you listen to any interview or read any interview that he's done in response to this, he keeps emphasizing that Khashoggi was not an American citizen, that he was a resident, essentially downplaying the value of his life to get people to think this isn't really that big of a deal. If you're an American, you don't need to worry about this. I mean, he wasn't an American citizen, he was just a resident. It doesn't matter. Once you allow any country to just willy-nilly murder journalists because they don't like the things that this journalist is writing about, you're right, Cenk, it sets a dangerous precedent, especially when it happens in a consulate or embassy. Well,
so now last two things related to what you're saying, Anna, is during when they crashed our set, and I had not thought to connect those two things, but Roger Stone also said, we know what you've been saying on air. So their attack against the media has been persistent, and before he even became president, they've taken it to absurd levels. Trump has called the media the enemy of the people. Now, when a member of the media is apparently murdered by the Saudis and dismembered, now he's talking about, well, who can know really? And maybe it was rogue killers and not the Saudi government itself. And that the Saudis have been treated unfairly. I think Khashoggi was treated fairly unfairly, not the Saudi government, okay? Right. Now, and for us, we do nuance. So are the Saudi people bad people? Of course not. Are Muslims overall bad people? Of course not. Is the government of Saudi Arabia dictatorial and reprehensible in about 1,000 different ways? Yes, absolutely. We've said it from day one. We said it before anybody else said it, because a lot of times the mainstream media, until stuff like this happened, well, the Saudis, kid gloves, they're allies. They're allies, you just gotta leave them alone. No, we don't. You can be consistent with allies and enemies if you actually have real principles, okay? Now, I asked the MAGA guys who don't do nuance.
Really, they don't do nuance?
Yeah, color you surprised, I know. You guys loved it when Trump said we're gonna ban the Muslims during the campaign. He said, until we figure out what the hell is going on, we're gonna ban all Muslims. You love that talk, right? There's a truth teller. Go get him, Donald Trump, right? I don't know if you know this, the Saudis are Muslims, okay? And the 15 out of the 19 hijackers came from Saudi Arabia. The Sunni insurgency that killed thousands of our troops, funded by Saudi Arabia. These guys have been killing us for a long, long time. Not the Saudi people, but yes, people connected to the Saudi government. And that Saudi government now dismembers a journalist. What happened? I thought that Trump was gonna be tough. All of a sudden, Putin soft. Oh, hey, it's a dictator. A dictator that gives contracts to Donald Trump. A dictator that pays off defense contractors and buys billions of dollars of weapons from them. Everybody in Washington's filthy rich from these guys. So all of a sudden, Donald Trump with a big bear hug to the worst Muslims in the world. As I said a billion times, we believe that Muslims are like every other human being. There's good guys, bad guys, super obvious to anyone who's rational. But if you thought Muslims are bad, the Saudi government is the worst of the worst. And Donald Trump just said, oh, they're being treated unfairly. What happened? I thought he was on your side. It turns out he's on his side. All he cares about is his own money. When is it gonna get through your thick head that he's deeply, deeply corrupt?
One other thing I just want to quickly add in regard to the weapons that are being sold to Saudi Arabia. Look, we've been pretty tough on Democrats in Congress for, I think, fair reasons and very obvious reasons. But when it comes to the sale of weapons to the Saudis, congressional Democrats have actually successfully put a hold on a number of weapons in response to the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen and how it's led to the murders of nearly 60,000 civilians in the country. And so the Saudis are now concerned that because of what happened to Khashoggi, they're going to put even more holds on the weapons that are being sold. And so what did they do? They immediately ran to Trump and had a conversation with him about this, and we'll see how this goes. But look, while we're talking about this and we're talking about what's happening in front of everyone, just keep in mind the types of conversations that happen behind the scenes. Because at the end of the day, everything goes back to money. Everything goes back to, who profits, what weapons are being sold, who gets to benefit from those weapons. Those are the issues that you should focus on, the details you should focus on when it comes to this story, not the ridiculous deflections from Trump where he tries to compare the murder of this journalist to what happened to Kavanaugh.
You know what, though? I did amuse myself as you were making that point, Anna, and realizing there will now be some MAGA guys who are like, well, look, the Saudis are good guys.
Of course.
The Saudis, I mean, like the most fundamentalist Muslims are like the best Muslims. And the ones that, hey, he killed a member of the media. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I mean, I always like the Muslims. Can't wait. Can't wait.
You're probably not wrong. Yeah.
And plus, they hate gays. I hate gays. They hate the media. I hate the media.
What can we do? Trump had tremendous chemistry. They tremendous chemistry with the Saudis.
He had good energy with them. He had good energy. He made a good deal with them.
The best.
Yeah. So they killed the Washington Post reporter.
Beautiful.
Well, but it was a good deal. It was a good deal. We made money. He made money, and that guy got dismembered. It was a good deal. I can't wait. Go for it, MAGA guys. Go for it. Defend Saudi Arabia. Defend the most fundamentalist government in the world. The most corrupt, of any religion, but certainly of the Muslims. Go ahead, defend them. Can't wait. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.